Go out there and earn it. Test yourselves. Go seek the best competition. Go seek the best competition and say, yeah, we can do this. We can compete with you guys. All the success I had and everything else, he says, if I wasn't having fun, I'm going to be competitive, I'm going to grind, but if I wasn't having fun. And if you really think about that, it's almost cliche, right? People say, have fun, have fun. We want to stick with our values, which is we want to have those relationships and have those travel ball memories and be competitive too, because we do believe you can have both. We've shown it. TJ's shown it with his teams. I've shown it with my teams. You can compete at a high level and you can still have that travel ball feel.
Welcome to the Car Ride Home podcast. Honored today to be joined by Rene Ciccarello. Rene is the president of the Tampa Mustangs, which we will talk a lot about that new role with you. Also, head coach of the Tampa Mustangs Rene team. Just had an incredible run through our 18U AFCS, finished in third place. We will definitely talk about that. 12th season with the Tampa Mustangs organization and over 25 years of coaching. Rene, welcome to the Car Ride Home.
Thank you for having me, Jamie. Appreciate it. Thank you.
We're gonna have some fun here. Most important, we always start the podcast. We set the stage in the car to learn a little bit about you. So first, Rene, what kind of music are we listening to in the car?
Oh, I listen to everything. I listen to hip hop. I listen to classic rock. I listen to country. Like my Sublime. I love my Sublime and my Dirty Heads. And I was talking to someone the other day about that. And I love my Dave Matthews and Counting Crows. Right, I grew up in the 80s, so 80s and early 90s. So
what's the last concert? What's the last concert you've been to?
Last concert, it was actually a good one. I think was it Dave Matthews? I think I went to a Dave Matthews. I'm not big on big crowds and concerts, but I do think that it was an outside concert and it was kind of a casual event. It might have been a Dave Matthews concert.
Okay. I don't know. I pegged you for hip hop, so there we go. You started.
Yeah, I definitely listen to hip hop. Typically the old stuff. Yes.
Ooh, who's your favorite old school hip hop?
I gotta go with Tupac. It's Tupac or Biggie, but I gotta go with Tupac. I think he was his lyrics were definitely very moving. So, and I like Eminem.
I don't know if this is a surprise or not. I actually love Tupac and Biggie. Like 90s hip hop was my jam. Yeah. Okay, after the music, the next most important is where are we eating in our car ride home?
Somewhere quick. I gotta eat and I gotta get out. Food wise, I'm gonna sit down and enjoy it. Probably a good steak. Other than that, it's gonna be somewhere healthy and try to stay away from fast food. As healthy as I can and quick is hard to do. So. But it's going to be something healthy and quick.
Well, we did talk a little bit before this about your Italian roots. What's your go-to Italian meal or Italian dish? So.
Something with a chicken, like a marsala or something like that. There's actually a dish that is not really sold anywhere that my aunts make that it's a little bit different. So. It's a pasta dish with meat in it, but it's called something no one would really understand. But it's not really sold in restaurants. That would actually be my top dish. So
good.
Yes,
good authentic Italian there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure.
I love asking this, and you can answer this twofold because you are a dad of a softball player as well. So when I ask you, what's your most memorable car ride home? Can you answer? What's your most memorable, both as a parent and as a coach as well?
Oh, as a parent, I would say it was one of my favorite trips. It was with my daughter, and it was just her and I. And we drove to Gulf Shores, Alabama, and we drove back, and she was doing her homework on the way up there, and I don't know. It was just the conversation. The conversation we were having is right when I could tell that she was turning from being, a little girl to starting to become a teenager and, growing into her own. And that was a very cool experience for a car ride home with her. So as far as the tournament, I would say a flight home, maybe. I think a cool flight home would have been maybe this most recent one. That was a good flight home. You know, we had a good run, as you said earlier. So that was just kind of processing how we got there and everything, and everything just started lining up perfect, and just saying, wow, you know, when you put that plan together and it starts working, that's cool. So that's really the flight home from this past nationals event. I think everything started hitting me then. So that would be that ride home.
How were you as a dad in those moments of balancing being a dad and being the head coach of your daughter Gracie's team as well? How did you balance that role?
So that was the first team, the 23. You know, I think one is I'm not a reactionary coach at all. Meaning I don't react because I just don't think anything gets done when you're reacting. Nothing productive anyways. I think, so as far as my daughter, we would have conversations, obviously. And, it's hard coaching your kid, no matter who you are and no matter what anyone says, especially if you coached prior to coaching your kid, which I did. I coached, many years before I even started coaching my own kids. So as far as, I think I was fair. I did tend to lean on the side of probably, pulling, she was the first one out type deal. I probably did tend to do that. And really, I think with the recruiting process, I could have done a better job, with that piece, because that was always difficult. It's hard for probably some dad coaches to talk about their own kids and whatnot. So that piece. Now, second time around, third time around, if I had, the knowledge, every year gets better, right? And easier. And you get little bricks where you get more knowledgeable to build your coaching wall, right? And you steal some bricks from other coaches, right? And build that wall. But if I kind of knew, I think second time around, if I would obviously have done a few things different. But for the most part, we had a great run, coaching that team, and with her part of that. And that's something, I think nothing can replace that, is coaching your kid as well, right? So
speaking of building that coaching wall, so now you, under the Tampa Mustangs, you have several coaches who have a kid on the team. What's your advice to them now that you've been through it? Your daughter's in college. What is your advice to coaches?
I would say plan everything, build everything on trust. I had very influential people with me that I went to. Two of those people obviously was Ray Seymour, who the Mustangs was founded in 1981. That question's kind of gonna get loaded here with a couple things, but yeah. So at first it was Ray and Kathy, obviously. And so when Ray passed away, someone else I also leaned on to was TJ Gals, and he told me, I think we're 12U, and in the fall, and I said, hey, how can I separate? We got a few good teams here in the state of Florida. And he's like, go nationally now. Go. No one in Florida is doing it at this young of an age. And I listened to him, and he said, Rene, and same thing happened when we're 14 and so on and so, he said, I never forget it. He's like, hey, you want to be a team that's getting invites to these tournaments. You're getting the bids because you've earned it. People know who you are. And start that at a young age. And so that's from a advice standpoint for a roadmap to a schedule, to these younger coaches. That's what I would say is, go out there and earn it. Test yourselves. Go seek the best competition. Go seek the best competition and say, yeah, we can do this, right? We can compete with you guys, and it's okay to play up too, right? And that's the only way you're going to get better. And so that from that standpoint, from a team standpoint, that's where I'd go. From another advice standpoint I'll get is I had the experience of coaching side by side with someone that's truly one of my best friends, and that's Derek Brooks. For those of y'all, I think him, and he's a Hall of Famer. He's but he's more than that. I mean, he's a great human being, and one of the things he brought to you got a Super Bowl champion, you got a Hall of Famer, you got all these accolades that he has. He always kept it light, and we were competitive, but it's finding the balance. And I would tell these coaches, it's one of the things I learned from him is he always kept it fun. He said something a long time ago that always resonated with me. Is he said, if all the success I had and everything else, he says, if I wasn't having fun, and I'm going to be competitive, I'm going to grind, but if I wasn't having fun, and if you really think about that, it's almost cliche, right? People say, have fun. But it is a game, right? And you have to have short memories in this game, especially this game, right? So, if I was going to have advice, I would say one, get a roadmap to a schedule that is, good for you and your team. And, seek out the best competition and then reevaluate where you are every year. I know we do that, as well. That's one of the things I do. And as far as coaching philosophies, if you want to get into that, I don't, if that's what you're asking me. I start every season with what's my why. What we ask the players, what's their why? Well, let me stop real quick. I'm about to start another season. What's my why as a coach? Why am I in this? Why am I doing this? Is this about, what I want to get out of this kid or what I want to get out of that kid? And the second thing is you got to build your entire program around trust. You either trust me, and sometimes you got to build trust, right? That's okay. Again, I'm not reactionary. It's more like I want to see more productive, right? So the younger coaches, I would tell them, that kid that dropped the ball in left field, they got a late break on it, instead of being reactionary, that's let the people behind the fence do that. Our job's to ask the kid, like, what did you see there? Like, why, did you read the ball? Let them talk, and, that with younger coaches, I think that's the biggest thing. A lot of them are very reactionary, versus just being more. How do we be more productive? How do we get the information from? They'll tell you now. These kids they will surprise you. They'll tell you. They'll say something, and you'll look at your assistant coach and say, "Wow, I didn't think about that." And if that was going through her head, maybe it's going through other girls, other these players' head, and so that's one of the things is we're not always right. We take and then I would say we do a lot of conceptual based coaching. I want them to understand the concept of what we're doing. One of the biggest things with this game is I come from a football background, and we segment football practices very much like game situations, and sometimes it's hard to do that in this game. So we are big on setting up how to set up a game situation in every practice that we do. And so that's big and conceptual. Do y'all understand conceptually what we're doing? I don't want y'all pegged in on this, on this situation, we're doing exactly this, right? Because that's not the game, right? Depends on the situation. Everything about this game is situational based, right? It's how fast is the runner? What's the score? What inning are we in? So understand the concept. What are we trying to do here? What's conceptually, what are we trying to, so even when we go diamond or around the horn, if the third base is throwing to first and the first base is throwing home, I want that first baseman conceptually working on, hey, I just got to check 3, go 1, come home play, right? We're not just throwing it around the horn. Like conceptually, what are you working on? So I think that answers a lot of that question as far as what I'll give to the younger coaches is, again, find out your why. You got to build trust. Be productive, not reactionary, and have synergy with your team. Have them eat together. Have them. These players. Listen, you build that synergy, and the Mustangs I think has been doing that for a while. We travel together. We do that. You build that synergy with those young ladies. They don't want the day to end. That's that 5th game. They don't want the day to end. They want to be together still, right? They're not looking that the parents might be looking that they've been on the fields for 9 hours, but they're not. They want the day to continue because they're friends, right? And I know that kind of may sound mushy to some, but at the end of the day, you're going to win the 7th inning. You're going to win that tiebreaker now. If you're fundamentally sound and that they're playing together, good things are going to happen. So I would say to any young coach, I would say those are kind of probably the main important things that I kind of go based off of, and I do it every year. But I start every year with what's my why, to make sure that I'm doing this for the right reasons.
You already alluded to a couple questions I had, so you jumped ahead of me for a sec, but I'm coming back to it because, Rene, I know how passionate you are about the Tampa Mustangs organization and the history. You already mentioned a few coaches. You mentioned Ray Seymour. From what I'm seeing, too, established in 1981, I know it was a family organization too. Can you tell people, who are the Tampa Mustangs, and give a little insight into Ray Seymour and how it was started?
Yeah. So the organization started in 1981. It was Florida's, and then it became Florida's first fast pitch softball team. And a lot of people don't realize the very first uniforms were actually baby blue. And we obviously went to navy blue and red. And then I saw an old picture, and I went to Ray and Kathy's daughter, Sherry. And I said, hey, is this? She's like, yeah. She's like, I believe she was on that team. And she's or one of those teams. And she said, yeah, that was the first color. I said, oh, we got to bring that baby blue back. Yeah. So, but the success they had a lot was Ray and Kathy. They lived and breathed about these kids, man. Ray was, I'll never forget when we met at a Village Inn, and Kathy came with her binder, and she had all these news clippings and everything else. They're just good people. They're always about class. That was the biggest thing with them. Win, lose, doesn't matter. We're going to have the most class in the way we hold ourselves and our coaches hold themselves and conduct. And literally, I mean, I even when I get emails to this day that talk about, hey, congratulations on this tournament. You guys hold yourself with such great class. Is something to hear that and know that originated from what Ray and Kathy wanted this organization, and that we're still acting and behaving that way and getting that type of reaction from people is awesome. So the history is, obviously Ray won a lot of nationals and whatever, ASA, USA softball back then. And then I would say TJ Gals at his 16U team, they won PGF, and that really kind of was a turning point. I think that was hey, you know what, this organization with a lot of boutique teams, right? This boutique organization, hey, they can come out here and they can compete with the best of them. So that was tremendous, what he did there, and then from there, I think guys like me just kind of stayed on that course, and hey, what do we do? And I think I mentioned this earlier is, I would have conversations. Hey, how do we separate? There's, I don't want to separate from the rest of these Florida teams. I want to, and I'll forget. He said, he goes, go now. You go there and compete and show you win. You'll never have to worry about you won't have to worry about a bid or getting a good field placements in the fall. Go out there and you make a name for yourself. And that's what we did. And, since then, we've had a lot of teams that had a lot of success doing the same thing now. And so we have teams that all, obviously travel the nation. And I think for the most part, when our opponents see Mustangs on the schedule, I think they like that. I think they're like, hey, yeah, this is going to be a good game for our players.
I remember back when I was with USSSA, that was my first introduction. And TJ is, oh my goodness, I'm date myself, but TJ Gales' daughter Avery was like in 12 and under. They were playing as the Suncoast Storm, and then moved over to Tampa Mustangs. Yeah. Kind of grew, almost like my career grew with TJ. But always they competed. Those kids, they went to great schools, but there was, like, I remember just being a classy organization. And when I met you, it's the same thing, and you know what you're going to get. Recent news that you and I have talked about is the Tampa Mustangs as an organization is shifting a little bit, of moving from a board into growing the Tampa Mustangs organization. And Rene, I think this is actually really important because I get to talk to travel organizations across the country. We know we have our larger brands. We have some that have chosen to stay small. But there's obviously some organization heads that are looking out there like, do I take the next step? Do we move? Do we franchise? Do we grow our brand? Can you talk about just the change that the Tampa Mustangs are going through right now and what really prompted that?
Well, I believe that it's what prompted it is the industry, right? That's what prompted it. I like being boutique. I think we always have. I like that we can have that, but the industry. I mean, it's at the end of the day, it does get harder and harder every year to go against some monetized organizations. And so, we've been able to do it for a while now, and we've been successful doing it. And quite frankly, I've had help with a couple of gentlemen that are with very prestigious organizations out west. They've been great for me, just to talk to them, and just they've been absolutely very, very helpful.
You can name them.
What's that?
You can name them if this is the Alliance.
Okay, yeah. So I would say Mike Stitt and Tony Rico have been very helpful, and talking to both of them, and obviously they appreciate what we're about, and everything else, and so are we going to plan on getting as large as them? No, that's not really what I foresee. But I do believe that we got to establish a little more structure. We got to have more synergy with our teams. We got to have more synergy with our coaches. We got to work well together, knowing who are all these players, and what is their growth, how can we help all of them, right? How can we help our coaches? How can we provide things to our families, right? So, and saying that, who can we bring in, right, that can help with this? So there's going to be some definitely a lot of added value. We're talking to we're going to have an academic advisor, for example, that's coming in, that's been with the organization, and her daughter's going to be graduating. So after that, we want to keep these legacy coaches. We want them to be a part of it. We have a wellness coordinator now, RN, that's going to be coming in. That's a Tampa Mustangs alumni, that will be doing seminars and pilots about whether it be health, as an athlete, how you need to take care of your body, whether it be mental health, things of that nature. So frankly, and I was absolutely astonished hearing this, and talking with her. She has this whole statistical data showing that the uptick of injuries in female athletes, particularly ACLs or what happens in a certain time in their menstrual cycle. And so how do you prepare? This is, when she was telling me that, I'm like, this is something we need to get out to our teams. And so, here we got a Tampa Mustangs alumni. So, we're going to bring in, like I said, the academic advisor for our teams. We're going to bring in a wellness coordinator. I will say I think the breaking news is TJ Gals he's part of my advisory committee. That was one of my first orders of business, was, calling him up saying, hey, this is what's happening, man. What do you think? And he's like, I love it. He's like, count me in. I said, I want to create an advisory committee, and and we may even do more than that this summer. Quite frankly, details to come. But yeah, and then obviously bringing in Derek Brooks, who has all this knowledge of sports franchises and everything else, and so bringing that in, and just having more structure. And for the first time ever, we actually broke out of the state of Florida. We just got 3 teams from the Carolina area, and so and now the question is well, what determines that? What determines a Mustang? And it's our values. We're everyone can do what they want to do, and there's not a right or wrong way. We believe in practicing together, playing together, traveling together. That's not going to change anytime soon. So yes, we're looking to grow. Yes, we're looking outside the state, but it's going to have to be our type of teams. It's going to have to be a team they're going to go with those values of, we're not going to meet at the parking lot and show up. We're not going to have girls from, DMing players from all over the nation, putting a team together and rolling out. Not to say that that's bad or good. It's very successful. Those girls get recruited too, very highly. And those teams are very good. But we want to stick with our values, which is we want to have those relationships and have those travel ball memories and be competitive too, because we do believe you can have both. We do believe that we've shown it. TJ's shown it with his teams. I've shown it with my teams. You can compete at a high level, right? And you can still have that travel ball feel. So, and frankly, my 18U team, we do a college travel where, not to get off the topic, but we do a college travel. This is important for me. And I love it when my alumni say, this is great. Like, because I ask them every year, I always go to the alumni. What can I do better with the schedule? How can I, what's one of the things we can tell our young ladies as far as, as preparation for college, right? How do we prepare them better? Like, again, you're always critiquing yourself of how you can add more value to these kids. And they tell me that one of the things they say, coach, don't get rid of the college travel. Don't get rid of it. So we do 1 to 2 tournaments in the summer with the 18U team. That what we do is we literally will have a practice in Tampa where people come, because we do have girls that travel from the state. And then a lot of them will fly out of Tampa together. Danielle and I, my wife, Danielle, my wife. And so we, we'll go ahead and check them in the hotel. We get the vans, we check them in the hotel. They get room assignments just like they do in school. Now they have an agenda prior to that. They have a full agenda. Everything you think about it, it's on that agenda now. And, we take them to the grocery store. And they got to go, hey, they got to get their food. And I remember the first year I did this, not when I'm getting way off the topic, but you knew what you were getting into when you talked to me. I remember the first year we do this, I'm like, I'm not going to say anything, right? So I had a young lady, and I said, they all cut in, and I said, okay, who got detergent? Who got detergent? And they're all looking at each other, and I'm like, I knew it was going to happen, right? And I'm like, all right, someone needs to go get detergent. And see, this is why we do this, guys. This is why we do this, right? Mom and dad not here. They're not going to be there, right? And one of the young ladies who's been with me for 8 years turns to me and she's like, Coach, in college, I don't wash our stuff. And I'm like, they're going to what? They're going to wash our stuff. They ain't going to wash every garment. You better get in there and get it. So that's kind of my story on that. But yeah, we take them to the grocery store, and then we go ahead, they come back and they have to learn how to be with a roommate that maybe, they don't, and don't get me wrong, there's strategy there. When we put the roommates together, there's some strategy there now, right? To get them but no, I think that's what makes us different, and our growth. Those things aren't going to change in our growth. That's what we're about, right? And so, I think there's value there to have, and I think you can do. I do believe, I know, because we've done it. You can do both. You can have a group of girls that, they can play together. I have young ladies that, during winter break, they'll go to each other's houses, and I mean, that's cool, man. Right? That's cool. They're probably, and I'm sure they'll be in each other's wedding. Like there's good relationships there, multiple years. And there's a lot of teams that have that. And I respect the hell out of those teams that do keep it that way. So it's cool.
I love that y'all do that college trip. I remember doing that in soccer when I was young, and it was different. No parents on the trip. And you just have a whole nother sense of responsibility that you have to do. That's super cool.
Yeah, the parents stay at other hotels to let them, but yeah, there's no parents there. The parents are a fan, just like they would in college. Yeah.
Oh, it's so good. Yeah. It's good for them. Let's talk about your 18 under team and the run that you guys just had. I remember, if I remember correctly, you guys lost early in super regionals, right? And you had to come back, because by the time I showed up from the 14U, you were in game 2. You had a double dip epic. can you just talk, like, what the heck? How you guys, I think you're the 13 seed. You just got hot and kept going. Like, what was going on in that Tampa Mustangs dugout during the AFCS?
Oh man, that was special. So the first thing I would say is leading up to that tournament, you put a schedule together, and you want to peak at the right time, right? And I'm very meticulous on how I do things, and so the schedule leading up to it, I think, really prepared these young ladies. There's a great tournament in OKC we did, and obviously Colorado. Everything we did really lined up for that. So that's what I will say. I would say a lot. I don't know if I told you this, but when we lost the first game to Epic, during the game, I thought I lost a pitcher for the entire tournament, and that was in the beginning. I thought it was her last pitch, right? Playing in travel ball. Went to the mound. She was in pain. Gave her a hug. Tears down both of our faces in the dugout, and we ended up losing that game, right? And so, mind you, my also in that same game, one of my catchers had a heat exhaustion, right?
It was really hot in Indiana this year.
Yeah. Well, listen, it was great. It was awesome. But the reality of it is that, it's a catcher. And so, couple pass balls, I come there, hey, what's going on? And she's like, I don't know. And I see her and I'm like, whoa, so, she was essentially, she was done catching, right? Like, we're not going to do that. And even the next day, like, I don't care. The kid's health is more important than anything else. So, we went in, like you said, and everything from then on had to be meticulous. Everything. And again, I'm pretty meticulous as it, but everything from, you name it, from scouting the opponents to pitch calling to, the rotation, the pitching rotation to the lineup, everything had to be meticulous. To my warm-ups, for example, my catcher stopped doing bullpens. I knew if we were going to make a run, I wanted the freshest legs out there. So my catcher, my fielders, essentially they did put a helmet on. They did, because we had one catcher at that point, and I'm like, she's done doing bullpens. We're not doing it anymore. We're not. Pitchers go, and then when they throw their 10 or 15 pitches before the game, they're near the dugout. Then they'll have the pitcher there. So everything had to be meticulous. Even with when the next day that pitcher got some therapy done, she started kind of battling through. But the other two pitchers, all three pitchers were battling an injury, right? So we really kind of just were piecing it together, and it was actually a team effort. I will say this, you want your pitcher to want the ball. You want all your pitchers to be the dog, right? And I will say that I think that when you're getting close and you're doing that college travel and you have that synergy and you're looking out for each other and you're seeing that the plan's working. Every coach has a plan, right? It's like Mike Tyson said, right? Everyone has a plan until you get punched in the mouth, and that's the downside of that. But when the plan's working, right, and you're like, wow, this is actually working, right? Your rotation and pitching's working. Again, trust. Everything's built around trust. The players start seeing it, and the pitching staff starts seeing it. And the way it was so synergized with the pitch calling and the recording of the pitch, and hey, what we do here, and let's look at this batter, and this is what she did last time, and our notes on her, this, that, and the other. That pitching staff started working so well together, and they all knew that they had to in order to make the run. They all knew they had to make the run. So that last the day before, so when we made the Elite Eight, that was awesome, right? Because it's hard to make. Obviously, we know that it's hard to make the Elite Eight.
That was your first one, right? That was your first Elite Eight.
Yeah,
I remember
the last. Yeah. The last 2 years we had top 10 finishes, right? We had 9. We finished 9 both times, right?
One game away.
And 1 game away both years. So when we made the Elite Eight, knowing that we were banged up, right? That was like, wow, that's big, right? That was exciting. The girls were pumped, super pumped. We went into the next day, and they wanted to wear the same uniforms. It's like, at least wash them, So we did that. That goes. They were super pumped. So when we went into the next day, I actually, again, I planned to go 3 games. So that was my, I know that if you win 2, you're good, right? You're done for the day. I put a plan together knowing my situation. I got a plan to win game 3. And how can I have the freshest team game 3? 6:30 game, right? Sun coming down, people have been out that field, and so it was when you're looking at your pitching rotation, you're kind of saying, okay, we're going to do this, that, and the other. That was ultimately between having, and I still feel we had the freshest legs at that tournament with our catcher. Our catcher was still throwing.
Can you reference who you played? Because that is a gauntlet of 3 games, too, by the way, at this point in the Elite Eight.
Yeah. So we once we got in the Elite Eight, our first game was against Stiff, and he woke us up, right? I joked around with him a little bit too, and then game 2 was a very good team. Love these guys, Impact, Jackson, Casey's team, and so we went down against it, and then we beat Impact Jackson, Casey's group. Very good game too, by the way. And then from there, we got done a little early. We had to play Shelton's Texas Glory team, and so that was probably around a 6-something game. And our girls were just like, but let's, if we rewind back to what I was saying about the synergy with the team, and how the girls come together and everything else, and why there's importance there. Our pitchers, we had a young lady that, we had obviously we had Mackenzie Duncan, Charlie Butler, and Sophia Bertarelli. Sophie was coming back from an injury from a year ago, and I knew she was going to essentially be our freshest pitcher. And because I was using her kind of every game, I was using her, whether it was a couple innings here or whatever, I was trying to get her in every game, but she was with me every single game and helping me call pitches. So, what would you throw here? Tell me what you would throw here. How would you go against this? So I'm just getting intel the whole time, and we've been doing that all summer, really. So we go into our last one, and Mac and Charlie, listen, they got us there, right? Like they really did. They got us there, and it was pretty cool because I was talking to Sophie, or I was talking to Charlie and Mac, and they were pretty banged up, and both of them were like, we got to that game 3, and they're like, Coach, it's Sophie's time to shine. And I'm like, how cool is that, right?
Gonna give me chills.
Goosebumps, right? I mean, that's synergy. That's a pitching staff, right? So yeah, she, I went there, I gave Sophia the ball, and I'm like, this is your game, kid. Go get it. I said, I got the team together. I said, guys, here's the deal. I said, the reality of it is we got the freshest pitcher in this entire park right now. We got the freshest legs in the entire park right now. Everything you did, all the schedule you had, all the travel this summer, everything you did, you trusted us. Right now, I'm telling you, this is where plan comes together, right? And I just told them one more game. The game before that, I said, hey, I know we were in the Elite Eight. I said, if y'all can, I'm trying to pull out things that, I said, if y'all can, this is a big game for Coach. If y'all can win this game, boy, I'll be, so I never asked the kids to do that, right? Knowing that if they pull that off, what I was going to say for game 3, and that was, last game was for me. This is for you guys. This game's for you guys here. It's up to you. I'm fine, but And they pulled it off, and they came together, and they won that third game. And you go from a top 8 finish, then you got a top 5 finish, and you're like, wow. And then you're in the top 3 finish if you win this game, right? And you're looking at the teams that are in this thing, right? You got 90, what is it, 93 or some teams?
We started with 94 at 18 under.
Right. So you have 94 teams, qualified teams, right? Let's put that in perspective, right? So you got 94 qualified teams, and then it's broken in a tier 1, tier 2, tier 3, right? So you're playing a double essentially to get in there. And then you're playing another double to get to the Elite 8, right? Out of the 30. And then you're playing another, like, it's like, it really, I will tell you this, that's the one thing, I know we're getting off, but that's the one thing I like about this tournament, is that it's, obviously 7 innings, but it allows strategy, right? It allows some long-term, and short-term strategy. You got to have both. And so I do like that. And it was a good run. And quite frankly, the girls just, like you said, when things happen, they happen. The offense just had timely hits. They just, the offense, everybody stepped up. We had a young lady that she got injured in the very beginning of the summer, and she was basically coming in as a sub. She was coming off the bench as a DH, right? And she went off, and she just, we had like I said, every plan went together. My daughter was coaching with me, as you know, and I was like, man, I'm like, I think this pitcher's struggling with our lefties. I'm like, I think I'm gonna bring in this Cameron here, and as soon as I'm thinking it, Gracie comes to me. She's like, hey, what about Cameron here? And I'm like, yeah, done. Let's do it. Cameron comes in, hits a home run. That was in one of the earlier days, but that just goes to show you, it's just, you knew it was going to happen. So, obviously you want to win the whole thing. But I'm not going to take anything away from those young ladies' success and their buy-in and the parents' buy-in, and kudos to them for that run. So I was super proud of them. Super proud of that group.
It was very cool. That's fun. I love being around, especially at the 18 level, because I know all of you guys and watching you coach in those moments and then celebrate those big wins. So I can tell firsthand of just like the emotions and the love that your team had for each other, whether it was in post-game interviews or your talks. I could feel that. Rene, you mentioned your daughter, and you've also mentioned your wife, Danielle, who's a big part of the Tampa Mustangs. What does that mean to you to essentially now, it's like a family business in a sense? And I want you to touch on that part. And also, you made the decision a couple years ago to stay in it. As Gracie graduated high school, left to go play at Eckerd. And I remember having that conversation, like, are you going to stay? Are you going to keep coaching? Or are you done? So I guess, first off, what went into that decision to stay? And then how cool is it now, to have your wife and your daughter with you in the Tampa Mustangs organization? Very cool.
But I would say what got me to stay in it, I coached before I had children. And, I'll be candid. Like, this is something I'm not going to say. I think, this is good. I grew up playing football. Okay. And, obviously God blessed me with plenty of good things and plenty of good character traits, but he didn't give me size. Okay. He said, for whatever reason, I'm going to keep you right at this height, and it is what it is. Go do what you got to do with it. And so, but I was passionate. Obviously I played baseball and all that, but I was passionate for football, just passionate. And I was the kid that went to the mailbox and, was waiting for the letter from the college. I was that kid. Like, no one was going to tell me I couldn't play. No one was going to tell me I can't. No one was going to tell me, no, you can't do this. And so that letter never came, right? But it never came. But after high school, I found a way to still be competitive. And my father boxed, taught me when I was younger, and that became a kind of a thing that I did. And fought amateur for a while, and then you start getting into other things. So I got in some triathlons, started doing that. So it's just staying competitive, and then but that something was missing, right? And the coaches, if I look at my life, and everyone has their upbringing, sports, in lack of better words, sports saved my ass. And so structure, football, the life lessons, everyone has a path they can go, and sports saved it for me. So between those two things, as far as what's my why that I say, right, every year, it's providing these young ladies the opportunity to go to that next level and play, right? And I want them to have a good experience. I know there's it's going to be tough for them and everything else, but I do care about my young ladies, and I want my college programs to know where we send them. I do check in with them, and I want to make sure they're getting taken care of too, right? So, but that's big with me. That's big with me is getting them to go fulfill that dream. It's a dream, and to do it and be one of the ones to do it at any level is phenomenal. So, as far as that's why I continue to coach. Is I coached before. I'm doing this for 25 years. We're talking before, right? And so I think that's it. I think that there's tremendous value and life lessons and why we all do this. And that goes for every coach out there. I think it goes without saying. As far as my wife and my daughter, this was a cool summer. Obviously we both work. We don't do this for a living, right? Obviously we're trying to grow the organization so we can go ahead and feed the organization, right? That's the primary purpose of this. But to have, my wife there when she can come, and we look at our summer schedule, and she looks at her work schedule, and I look at my work schedule, and I know I've been blessed with being able to have a flexibility to do my thing, but we put it together with her where she can take her vacation around these young ladies. And that's what she does for that collegiate, when we do the collegiate travel, that's her thing. She loves doing that. Like that's something that she's a part of, and she helps me with the agendas and the meals and the team events and what are we gonna do that's fun and all that stuff. And then having Gracie there this summer was really cool. She said something. You don't know what you're going to get. You don't know if the girls are going to respect someone that's playing college ball. And, and Gracie's a little one, as you know, she's 5 foot. So she's talking to this, this team of, and so she made a comment. I think a lot of girls, I know this because I guess a few of the girls had talked to the parents about what she said, and it stuck to a lot of them. It made an impact. And, when you are coaching 18s, as some of these young ladies can get senioritis, right? They can get senioritis. In one of the very beginning tournaments, Gracie told the girls, she says, guys, my father used to tell me this all the time, but I will tell you that, and I never said it to this magnitude. She actually took this on her own and said, many of you guys would never have a chance to play for a national title, even if you're playing at the college, the next level. This team is really good. This team has all the pieces. I'm telling you guys that now. You got the pitching, you got the catching, you got the fielding, you got the offense. You guys can hit. She's like, this is an opportunity for many of y'all to do something you'll never have a chance to do again. So just think about that as you continue on. And it resonated with some girls. And this is coming from,
that's deep.
Right? And I'm like, yeah, she's coached. I'm like, she's pretty good.
That's going through my life. I got goosebumps. And it's like, she's right. She's completely right about not having that opportunity all the time. But like, okay, I'll be interviewing her in a couple of years too. We got to keep her in the game as a coach. Yeah, absolutely. That's awesome.
So we're excited.
Oh, you mentioned this briefly. I got to go back to it. You were a boxer. Like, can you talk about?
No.
Give me some Rene, especially young Rene boxing. I can't let you just skip over.
Yeah. So yeah, that was when I graduated from high school. My father, it's funny. So my family, and we talked about this. They're immigrants, right? So my father's side came from. This is where the whole boxing thing originated from. They came from Tunisia, which is North Africa. It was a French colony at the time, but they're Sicilian and they're Italian, right? And so when Tunis got its independence, they moved 7, brothers and sisters, which that family's obviously huge now, right? Cousins and everything else. They moved here to the States. Well, when they moved to the States, my dad was, I think, 14. And a couple years later, he goes to high school and he wants to play football. So he goes to my nono, which is grandfather. We call him nono. And he goes to his father and he says, I want to play football. And he goes, American football? He says, no, I'm not playing American. He's just too rough, too violent. And so he's like, you want to do a sport? Go box. So this goes to show you, it's kind of funny, right? So football is too violent, but my grandfather told my dad to go box. So that's acceptable. And so my father boxed and he trained, when he was younger and everything else. So when I was young, ever since I was small, he would da-da-da-da-da-da-da. And so when I realized football wasn't in the cards for me, right, and whatnot, it was time to lose that football weight, and it was time to. So I first started getting into it when just really for health, right? And I'm there working, and a couple of guys are coming to the gym that are pro and amateur, and they're like, hey, would you think about? And I'm like, I don't know, this, that, and the other. But then you also you want to spar someone, right? You're hitting this bag the whole time. You want to spar someone. So first started, I sparred a guy, did pretty well. Then I sparred another and did pretty well. And a couple months later, I'm sparring guys. And I'm doing well, and I get approached by someone that's running it was the Tampa Boxing Club, and they're like, hey, listen, we're fully sponsored and everything else, and we got a couple guys there, this, that, and the other. So I trained with them and went to Florida and played the Sunshine State Games, won the gold welterweight.
Wow.
Well, listen, I was scared. I ain't gonna lie. The guy, I'll never forget, I was 19, he was 26. And he was, and yeah. And so, but then after that, it's like, okay, what next? And I was working and I'm always intrigued by, I don't know, successful athletic people. I don't know why. I'm always intrigued, and so there was a gentleman that I was working at the YMCA full time, actually, and going to college. And there's a guy that I was talking to, and he did triathlons. And he's explained this to me, and I'm like, first of all, he's in incredible shape, right? And he's explaining his routine, his schedule. And I'm like, wow, with that much structure. I'm like, that's probably why he's successful, right? He has structure, right? He's morning, this, that, and the other, work, da-da-da. I'm like, hey, I want to get to that. Well, I have school, I have work full time, I have school. So, and it wasn't so clear to a 19 to 21-year-old that was what I was doing. It's clearer now as a older person. You're kind of like, oh man, I see what I did at a younger age, right? So I got into doing a couple of triathlons, little sprints, nothing major. And then from there, that was like, I fell into coaching through the YMCA. They had football, tackle football, no weight limit. It was awesome. Down to that. And then that grew into another league. And then that grew into a high school coach contacting me and coaching high school football. And then softball.
Rene, speaking of structure, so I am structured, and I'm looking at it. I have this outline that I tend to follow. But we just ended the podcast with the questions I typically ask at the beginning. I love it. But that was actually going to be one of my things, is like your athletic background that then led into softball. But who would have thought? It's boxing. So Ryan Taylor was a wrestler. Rene Ciccarello was a boxer. And I don't know if you know, but Jeremy Higdon just did a triathlon. So maybe we'll bring you out of retirement and let's see who the most athletic 18 under coach is in the Alliance. I'm putting it out there. I want to see it. I look at Susie Williamson. She looks super athletic and fit. So Maybe
Yeah, she looks athletic as hell. Yeah, I'm like, you do triathlons. What do you do? Yeah.
All right,
Right.
Indiana, here we come. Everybody start training. I do want to end just a couple like quick fire just questions. Put you on the spot here. Being from Florida and just knowing the deep roots of softball too, who are some of the best softball players at the youth level that came out of the state of Florida, in your opinion?
Oh, God, we got so many. I mean, I think you got some pitchers that obviously plenty of pitchers that played at the collegiate level. I think we're gonna have a couple that come out here. I almost don't want to say names. So, but I will say, to your point, I know where you're headed with this, because we have so many good players that came out of Florida, and I will tell you this. I think that Florida, if we had a board, right, and we looked at the teams that are playing right now at a high level, and you've seen where some of these kids are playing, they're coming out of Florida. So I will say that. I don't want to put one kid over another. I think there's a lot of good talent comes from Florida. A lot of good talent comes from Florida.
One of the first names that comes to mind is Jackie Trina. If we go back in the day from South Florida, but I actually played with Gian DeSalvatore in the professional league. Who's one of the best hitters that I've ever played with, and just watching her routine. But I remember she flew to California when she was in travel ball. She's from like the Clearwater area. She flew to I guess she played with the Batbusters maybe towards the end of her career. But I think that's part of what you want to do, right? Is keep those players in Florida. That's
everything what you're saying, and that you're right. That's what we're trying to do. We have so much talent in Florida. And again, we've been boutique for a while, and the reality of it is I think that if we want to keep these kids in Florida, we can. We want to keep them in the organization too. And this is really cool. And the last team, we had, I think, 16 players. 14, if not 15 of those players were either from another Mustang team or played for the Mustangs and came back. So in the year before that, we had Sean Christensen and Lance. They coached a team, and they saw the vision. They saw that they like, hey, we need to get these girls coaching, and so there was that team had, I think, out of 17 girls, it was 14 of them were Mustangs from multiple teams. So it's happening, right? People are seeing it. So, but yeah, we want to keep them. We want to keep them in Florida. Let's see which state has the best talent. I love that.
Let's go. I'm going to switch gears. What is the biggest difference of Coach Rene, football Coach Rene, and softball Coach Rene? What's the biggest difference, and maybe even similarity?
I would say it's very similar. Again, even in football and in softball, practice, we try to set, practice. I'm very vocal in practice, very high energy. Everything's obviously scripted, the same. So football, one thing about football is everything's 10-minute intervals. Everything, right? You're going to do so the same thing. You're going to do what we call dailies, right? You're going to do your, what I call TTO, which is team takeoff. Now, I brought that to softball, but that's when you're getting a team together and you're doing some type of drill as a team. So our girls see TTO, they know that's team takeoff. So there's a lot of stuff I pulled from football, Jamie. So there's a lot of similarities with the two. We basically have 10-minute intervals in softball, except for if there's something I want to install. We have an install period. We have a play review period. We have it's in football. It's the same way. You have your indies. You have your install. You have your the opponent you're seeing. All right, this is what we're gonna do. Then you have okay, we're gonna go inside run, which is just and that's okay. We're just gonna work infield, right? See how that works. While the outfield DBs and quarterbacks and wide receivers, they're working on their route running and they're working on their packages. Well, our outfield's working on their stuff, right? And so it's very, very similar. And the biggest thing with football is Football, we tend to practice like the play. So we're working inside run, we're working our offense, and we're working the defense. Well, I like to bring that to softball. So softball, we do a lot of live situations, but we get creative about how to rep it. How can we get this live situation versus doing it 1 or 2 times? How can we replicate that and get it done 10 times, right? And where it's not, but my demeanor is the same. I think it's the same. Game time, it's a lot different. Game time, I like taking it all in. I like watching a movie. I like sitting back and I like watching a movie. I'm quiet because I'm processing so many things. I'm just trying to look for any way to give us an advantage, right? So practices, high energy, high octane, very scripted, very meticulous, vocal. You want to keep it fun for the girls too. So you want to keep them active and they should want to do it, but it's a lot, right? And then I would say games, I'm pretty, I get juiced up, but I'm pretty quiet for the most part because I'm trying to get a hand somehow or another. I'm trying to get a little advantage. So
that's fair. You said you've mentioned being meticulous. I feel like you're probably a learner too. Who do you study or who do you learn from as a coach? What do you draw from?
Yeah, I mean, when I very first started softball, I went to my father-in-law actually. My father-in-law coached softball for years, and he was at a high school, and I believe he took him to state. And so that was who I went to in the very beginning stages. That's who I went to a lot for. When they were 10 and 12 and young and getting into this, mechanics, I went asking a lot of baseball guys, like guys that knew their stuff, right? Like, hey, what would you do better with your son, whether they're coaches or not? Just the emphasis on drills, the emphasis on dailies. I mean, like we got to practice more. We got to practice more. We got to teach fundamentals more. So I went to a lot of, now as far as the team and the travel ball aspect of things, I went to Ray in the beginning, Ray Seymour. He was someone I went to as far as, how to handle this situation, or, especially when you're a younger coach. And then as far as the landscape, it was TJ. Like, hey, what do I need to do? Because I don't want to be the one calling saying, oh, can you get me on this field? No, I want to earn that, right? Like, I want you calling us. I want you recognizing what my team has done, and you wanting us there, right? That says, we've earned it. So that was TJ in the very beginning. He's like, no, go there, go to 12U, too young to go to Colorado. Nope, go. Your kid's gonna go. So I'm like, okay. And he was right. From then on, we never had to worry about anything. And multiple teams later. So, and then the other person is Derek Brooks. I mean, this guy. I mean, listen, that guy's like a brother to me. I mean, I go to him for everything. And he always has a way when it comes to coaching, or even big picture, but even how do we get the best out of this player? We're big on that, man. We're big on our job's to coach. Our job's not to cut. Our job is to coach, man, and doing what's the best for that kid. Seeing how can we get the best out of that kid. If you're slow, but you can hit hard and you're a lefty, we're gonna figure out how to make that attribute your best, right? Or as Derek, I just said slow, and talking about Derek would say, it's not that they're slow, they just could be faster. So, but anyways, but trying to get the best out of each kid. That's where his role came. So I had a lot of baseball guys that helped me in the beginning. I had Ray, that helped me with the whole travel ball. TJ helped me with the landscape. Derek, just at bigger picture, kind of always has me look at things from a different angle. and sometimes you'll, agree with me and solidify, hey, no, the way you're thinking is right. But I would say, yeah, I put some strong pieces together next to me, and going forward, those are two guys. Actually, they're that was my first order of business actually when we started this thing, and I was humbled that Sherry and Dave were like, hey, we need someone that's going to go ahead and take charge, and you're doing it now. You've been doing it for the past few years, and we just want to make it official where everyone knows. And there's going to be some growth to it, but first order of business was I got on the phone and I was like, I called TJ and I called Derek, and I'm like, this is happening. Like, first, what do you think? Both of them were like, absolutely, you need to do it. And then the second question was like, well, will you be part of my advisory committee? Let me explain what that means. And both of them were like, yeah, absolutely. So knowing I have them by my side, and I have Sherry, and who's Ray Seymour's daughter, by my side, and Dave Handler, who's volunteered 14 years of this, by my side. I think we got a good group.
I think you do too. One maybe weakness that you have right now. This is going to be my last question. So I am the Alliance, right? And I am very neutral until my 9-year-old niece has joined the Tampa Mustangs organization, and I got talked into joining the coaching staff in the last tournament. I was more so like dugout mom, by the way. I like put in sunscreen. I rolled sleeves. I gave a little bit
right there now.
That's
coaching right there.
I need some advice, maybe for my mental game here, Coach Rene. I went 0-4 in my debut as a 10 and under coach. So what would your advice be to those 10U coaches that, I thought we played really well, but maybe the record didn't.
Here's my advice. Those the only one remembering that y'all went 0-4 is you guys right now. Those girls aren't remembering that.
They have no idea.
No idea. So what I would do is just stick to, how can you help Sally Sue, right? Be a better base runner. How can you help, this one, not step out of the box, right? How can you help this one follow through with her throw, right? What are the good things that you saw? What are the things we need to work on? What's the big picture as far as the team needs to work on? Then what are the individual players need to work on? And just try to get the best out of all their games. And I would say, anytime a coach can get someone's weakness, right? And literally that becomes one of their strengths. Ooh, you turn the kid around now. You turn the kid around, because now their strengths are just going to excel, right? But now you got something that was arrowed down. Now it's coming up. Oh boy, that age is coaching right there now. That 10U.
It is.
Tell you, the biggest thing with the suntan lotion now, okay, is they can't touch it, because when they touch it, now it's oily on their hands. So you gotta tell them. We have rules. I think I told your niece this, right? What is it? Hey, don't play in the clay. Don't touch someone next to you. And when I'm talking, you listen. It's that simple. When I'm talking, when my eyes are looking at you, you're looking at me.
It's that easy. I'd say I had a blast with doing it. Hopefully Coach Tim will let me back. But so fun. It makes you just remember. I will say I also started my 12 and under coaching career 0-4. So, we just set the floor, and we have a lot of room for growth there.
Nowhere to go but up. I think there's a song.
Yeah. Well, it's like those days you go 0-4, but man, I felt so good at the plate. I crushed balls. I just, they made plays. So that's how I did it.
It's you against the pitcher, right? There's 8 players there to defend you, right? You did your job. You get barrel on the ball.
I did my job.
Did your job. Yeah. Yeah. I think you're gonna be good. We're happy to have you. I'm gonna come out next tournament. I'll evaluate you a little bit. I'll take some notes. Okay. Right.
Okay. So. Yeah. A little nervous for that. Rene, thanks for joining and doing this. I appreciate what you do for the athletes. And we stayed under 90 minutes.
Oh, and I'm a talker now, so that's pretty good. Exactly. We got 9 more minutes and we're in a roll. No, I appreciate you having me on, and honored actually that that our organization would be thought of to say, hey, listen, we think of your organization this highly, and to me that's huge, and it's not, Rene, it's Ray, it's TJ, it's Bell, it's all these guys that coached and all these players that, blood, sweat, and tears before us. The Tampa Mustangs brand, it has nothing to do with individuality. It's everything to do with all those young ladies, all those families that, sacrifice so much to be here, like all these other players. But I just want to make sure that, I'm the one doing the interview right now, but at the end of the day, it's so much more than that. This organization it does have a culture like a family, and it's all those people prior. So I'm honored, and I say that on behalf of the organization that y'all recognize when I talk to us.
Well, I've always been a fan, and look out, world, here come the Tampa Mustangs, even stronger. So Rene, congrats again to what you guys did as well at the national stage with 18s. It was fun to watch, and thanks for joining us on the car ride home.
Fantastic. Thank you, Jamie. Take care.
Hey guys, we hope you're enjoying the Car Ride Home podcast. Hopefully we're filling the air and making your car ride home a little bit more enjoyable. Please be sure to subscribe to our podcast on Spotify, Apple, or YouTube, and leave us a review. If you have any special guest or requests that you'd like to hear, or have us bring a guest or a story onto the podcast, shoot us an email, info@thealliancefastpitch.com. We'd love to hear from you.